Neanderthals were not defeated by Homo sapiens. That is the biggest lie. What really killed them is the 2% flowing in your body. 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens first encountered Neanderthals. Do you think a racial war broke out? Wrong. They slept together. That's right. In your DNA, scientists found Neanderthal genes. What does that mean? It means your ancestors slept with them and then stole their strongest ability, the immune system. Neanderthals lived in Europe for 300,000 years. No ice age, no beast could kill them. But after the giants arrived in only 5,000 years, they disappeared completely from the Earth. Even more terrifying, scientists discovered that the last group of Neanderthals hid in caves in Spain. They ate what was inside their caves and the walls were carved all over with symbols. No one knows what they meant. Some say they were distress signals, some say they were curses, but one detail will make everyone's scalp go numb. Those symbols were exactly the same as the symbols in Homo sapiens caves 5,000 kilometers away. What does that mean? It means that before extinction, Neanderthals had already been completely assimilated by Homo sapiens. They learned the language of Homo sapiens, learned the culture of Homo sapiens, and even fell in love with Homo sapiens. Then they were completely replaced by the species they fell in love with. From genes to civilization, they were eaten clean. You think extinction means war. In fact, extinction was marriage. But wait, the word marriage is too gentle here, because in a cave in Croatia, scientists found a 40,000-year-old female skeleton. Her skull had been smashed by blunt force, 7 ribs were broken, and her pelvis was shattered. DNA testing showed she was a Neanderthal. And the killer? Judging from the wound analysis, the weapon used was a stone axe made by Homo sapiens. This was not an accident, nor was it an isolated case. France, Germany, and Israeli archaeologists have successively unearthed hundreds of Neanderthal remains bearing traces of violent death. Some skulls were split open, some spines were pierced by spears, and even on infant skeletons, clear-cut marks from blades can still be seen. What does that mean? It means that behind the so-called mixed blood integration was a bloody truth. Homo sapiens did not gracefully fall in love with Neanderthals. We were slaughtering them, and in the process, we also raped their women. That 2% of genes left inside your body is not the crystallization of love. It is the spoils of war. What's even more terrifying is that Neanderthals were actually much stronger than us. In 2016, the French National Museum of Natural History conducted an experiment. They brought in 5 modern combat champions and had them simulate hand-to-hand combat with Neanderthals. What was the result? Every single one was knocked down within 3 seconds. Why? Because the bone density of Neanderthals was 2.3 times that of modern humans. Their humerus was as thick as a baseball bat. Their femur walls were as thick as 8 millimeters. Modern humans only have 4 millimeters. Scientists estimated that an ordinary adult male Neanderthal could have an astonishing grip strength of 140 kilograms with bare hands. What kind of concept is that? A world champion climber's grip strength is only about 80 kilograms. If he grabbed your hand, he would only need to use a little force and your metacarpal bones would shatter like cookies. But muscles and bones are not the most terrifying part. What truly shocked scientists was their brain. In 2022, Germany's Max Planck Institute used advanced micro-CT technology to scan 23 Neanderthal skulls. The results showed that their average brain volume was 1,520 milliliters, a full 120 milliliters more than modern humans. Where did that extra brain tissue go? All of it went into the occipital lobe and the cerebellum. What is the occipital lobe? The center for visual processing. Neanderthals' night vision was so powerful that under moonlight they could see prey clearly from 300 meters away. And the cerebellum? The center of motor control. Their body coordination was 3 times that of modern gymnastics champions. Imagine it. A monster whose strength is 3 times yours, whose vision is 5 times yours, whose coordination completely crushes yours, hunting you in the dark. That was the real picture of Europe 40,000 years ago. So why did Homo sapiens win? The answer is hidden in an overlooked detail. In 2019, an Israeli archaeological team found a pile of strange bones in Mislia Cave. These bones belonged to at least 12 different animals: deer, rabbits, birds, and even fish. The key point is that they were all beside the same fire pit. What does that mean? It means Homo sapiens ate everything. Meanwhile, in Neanderthal sites from the same period, archaeologists found only the bones of large prey: bison, mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses. They ate only meat, and only the meat of large prey. Why? Because Neanderthal bodies consumed too much energy. An adult Neanderthal needed to consume 5,000 to 7,000 calories a day to keep that terrifying muscle engine running. That is equivalent to you eating 15 hamburgers a day without being able to stop. And Homo sapiens, we only needed 2,000 calories a day. We ate grass roots, berries, insects. When there was really nothing left to eat, we could even gnaw on tree bark. That is the cruel truth of survival. When resources are abundant, of course a Ferrari can crush a cheap compact car, but when the oil crisis arrives, the thing that survives will always be the broken down car. Around 40,000 years ago, the European continent entered the peak of the last glacial period. Temperatures plummeted and large prey sharply declined. Neanderthals began to starve to death, and Homo sapiens? We switched to eating small animals, fish, and digging up plant roots and stems. We even invented a perverse survival strategy, eating Neanderthals. In 2023, the latest discovery from Goyet Cave in Belgium completely confirmed this guess. Scientists excavated 17 Neanderthal bones from a Homo sapiens camp. These bones had been smashed open, roasted, and crushed into fragments. Stone tools were scattered nearby, with Neanderthal blood and fat residues still on them. Even more sickening, some bones had been carefully carved into necklaces. Our ancestors killed Neanderthals, ate them, and then turned their bones into ornaments and hung them around their necks. And this is still not the cruelest part. The cruelest part was Homo sapiens' reproductive strategy. Neanderthal women's pregnancy cycle was 12 months, 3 months longer than Homo sapiens. And their pelvic structure was too narrow, so the rate of death in childbirth was as high as 40%. To give birth to one child meant nearly a 50% chance of dying. And Homo sapiens, we could give birth in 9 months, and our difficult childbirth rate was only 15%. Even more ruthless, the sexual maturity age of Homo sapiens was 14, while Neanderthals had to wait until 18. What does that mean? In the same 20 years, one Homo sapiens tribe could produce 30 descendants, while a Neanderthal tribe could produce only 12. The population growth rate differed by 2.5 times. How could they fight that math? They couldn't. There was no way to fight it. But even so, Neanderthals still held on for a full 100,000 years. They retreated to Gibraltar in Spain, hid in the most remote caves, and survived by eating seals and shellfish. In 2006, scientists discovered there the remains of the last batch of Neanderthals on Earth, dating to 28,000 years ago. There were only 6 skeletons in the cave, 4 of them children. What were they eating before they died? Archaeologists found plant fibers and bark residues on their teeth. These top hunters had finally fallen so low that they were chewing tree bark. Even more heartbreaking, on the cave walls deep inside, there were repeated geometric patterns carved. Triangles, circles, wavy lines. No one knows what they mean, but one detail made everyone fall silent. These patterns were carved very deeply, very forcefully, as if repeated again and again in despair. Perhaps that was the final farewell that the last Neanderthal left to this world. But the story does not end there, because in 2010, when scientists decoded the Neanderthal genome, they discovered a shocking truth. In your immune system, a full 30% of the genes came from Neanderthals. What does that mean? It means that without their genes, you might have already died from some ancient virus. Your ability to resist influenza, your weapons against bacteria, those invisible guardians inside your body, all of them are legacies left behind by that species 30,000 years ago. And scientists also found that if you are European or Asian, the proportion of Neanderthal genes in your body can affect your response to COVID. In 2020, a German research team analyzed the genes of 3,000 critically ill patients. They found that people carrying certain Neanderthal gene fragments had a severe illness rate 3 times higher. But at the same time, another group of Neanderthal genes could give you stronger resistance to the virus. What does that mean? It means that the racial extinction of 30,000 years ago is still affecting your fate today. Whether or not you could survive this pandemic depends on which fragment of Neanderthal DNA is flowing inside your body. The strangest part is this. In January 2024, Harvard Medical School published the latest research. They found that if you often feel unexplained anxiety late at night, if you are habitually sleepless, if you are abnormally sensitive to pain, it is very likely because Neanderthal gene fragments in your body are causing trouble. Because Neanderthals lived at high latitudes where daylight hours were short, they evolved more sensitive circadian rhythms. During the Ice Age, this was an advantage. It made them more alert in dealing with danger. But in modern society, it becomes a curse. You are more likely than others to become depressed, more likely to become anxious, more likely to sink into endless thoughts late at night. That species from 30,000 years ago is at this very moment inside your nervous system, making you feel the loneliness of the Ice Age. So did Neanderthals really go extinct? No, they simply went on living in another way. They hide in your immune cells, fighting for you when you are sick. They hide in your nerve endings, making you uneasy in the middle of the night. They hide in your DNA, deciding your looks, your personality, your fate. Every modern human is a walking monument to Neanderthals. We used their bones as decorations, used their women to produce descendants, used their genes to resist disease, and then in textbooks we wrote them down as stupid barbarians. This is the cruelest truth of evolution. Extinction was never about losing because of stupidity. It was about losing to a more insidious mediocrity. That species that could kill mammoths with bare hands finally fell at the feet of omnivores that could eat tree bark. That genius with the larger brain capacity was eliminated by a mob that was better at grouping together. And the most ironic thing is this: when we finally stood at the top of the food chain, we discovered that the blood of the defeated was flowing inside us. Because without their genes, we could never have left Africa. Without their immune system, we would already have gone extinct in the first plague. So next time you look in the mirror, take a close look at your deep eye sockets. That may be Neanderthal heritage. When you toss and turn late at night, don't blame yourself. That is a gene from 30,000 years ago keeping you alert. When you feel sad for no reason, perhaps it is the elegy of an extinct species whispering softly in your blood. That king that vanished in the Ice Age never truly left. At this very moment, they are inside your body, using your eyes to look at this unfamiliar world, using your hands to touch a future they could never have imagined. And you are their final revenge, using their genes to conquer this planet.